What's up, co-reporters, and welcome back to my channel. There's only 2 days left until the debut of the latest season of Teen Mom Next Chapter, and Caitlyn and Tyler are going to be continuing to open up about their adoption journey. As y'all know, their firstborn daughter, Carly, was adopted to a family, a lovely couple by the name of Brandon and Teresa. What was supposed to be an open adoption has now turned very, very ugly and extremely closed to the point where Caitlyn and Tyler are now blocked from having any kind of contact with Carly's parents. It's a very, very, very dark situation. We talked about it at length last year on this channel. And now Caitlyn is opening up about that not only on the forthcoming season of the show, but also in an interview with People magazine, where she talks about suffering from adoption trauma. When it comes to being blocked from contact with Carly's parents, she said, and I quote, "It was difficult. For the longest time, I was like, I think I'm pretty healed from my adoption trauma. I've done lots of therapy, worked on it really hard. And then when all of this happened, I found myself in a really bad place, like adoption PTSD for a few weeks to a month, where it was just like randomly crying out of nowhere, anxiety and sadness." And I've got to say, I cannot blame her. Going back and watching their episode of 16 and Pregnant, seeing how hopeful they were and how the adoption and open adoption situation was presented to them as children was very sad. It felt like all of the adults involved misled these naive, poor young children. And I mean poor, like not poor me, poor you, but like poor, like literally impoverished young children. And my heart breaks for them as a result of that. And I'm not surprised by the trauma that they're currently dealing with today based off of those circumstances. But I fear that their actions since and all of this speaking out against Brandon and Teresa, I think on the one hand, of course, they definitely do have the right to do that, but I do fear that it might cause issues in their potential ability to have a relationship with Carly moving forward, because now Carly is 16 years old. She's about to be 17. And then after that, it's only 1 year until she can go ahead and reach out to them if she sees fit. But if this sort of thing back and forth sorts of continues in the public eye and whatnot, her parents might try to block that or really take issue with that. And obviously with Brandon and Teresa being her parents, right, the only parents she's ever really known, she, I'm sure, is rather defensive or protective of them and whatnot. The whole thing is very, very complicated. I hate to say or hate to, act like Caitlyn and Tyler do not have the right to share their pain. I think they certainly do, especially because, adoption is typically presented only in a positive light, right? But like anything, it does have its complicated sides. It does have its darker sides and whatnot. And I do applaud them for sharing that, okay? Now, continuing on in the interview with People magazine, Caitlyn said that the pain has been absolutely eye-opening. And that it has opened her eyes to see that, quote, "I feel like any birth parent, you never really heal from this ever. You can work on it for years, but you will always carry the hurt and sadness and sorrow for the rest of your life." And that's something really hard to think about. It sucks knowing that a year from now, 2 months from now, or even 10 years from now, something can slap me in the face and put me back into that moment where I am saying goodbye to my child. It is horrible. Then when she talks about how she explains all of this to her children, don't forget that she and Tyler have since gone on to have multiple other children as well, including Novalee, Araya, and Veda. She says, "I think that it's important that I'm open with my kids. My kids would see me crying and ask me, 'Why are you crying?' And you don't know what to say." I told her, "I just really miss your sister." I'm open with all of them about it. Thankfully, my kids do help me too. I have other things to do and I can't just be a blob of a mess forever. I have these children that I have to show up for and I have to take to do things. And you know what? That's the spirit, Kate. Like as hurt as you are, as much as you've got going on and all of the trauma and the pain and the sadness as a result of this adoption, you still do have other children that you need to show up for. And so it's great that she is recognizing that and talking about the difficulty of juggling those two very conflicting feelings and those two very conflicting words as well. This story, I find it to be very, very painful. And I did speak with someone who authored a book about like the ugly side of adoption and whatnot. And I did speak to someone who was an adoptee who's also shared her side of how painful it was and everything like that. And, it's so hard. I know a lot of people in the Teen Mom universe give them a lot of grief for what it is that they're doing, what it is that they're saying, but I do think that there is merit to their complaints here. And again, I did go back last year when all of this was breaking out and rewatched our episode of 16 and Pregnant, and everybody involved did lead them on about what an open adoption would look like. And so, yeah, my heart definitely goes out to them, and I'm looking forward to watching this season of the show to see how they continue to, share their side of things and talk about what's going on, because I think that other teenagers who find themselves in a similar situation to Catelynn and Tyler at the time do need to see this other side of things. I think it would be irresponsible for them as people who are suffering from emotional issues, mental issues, pain, grief, and whatnot as a result of placing their daughter up for adoption. I think it would be a shame for them to hide all of that, right? I think, why not? They have the right to be honest, just like anybody else has the right to be honest. And so we'll have to wait and see how all of that plays out on the show. Don't forget, the latest season of Teen Mom Next Chapter is going to be premiering on Thursday, January 30th. Of course, I will be recapping it here on the Grace Report YouTube channel. If you haven't already, do make sure to go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on a single recap. But in the meantime, let me know how you feel about Kate opening up about her adoption PTSD and the like in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.